So I don't know if it's just me, but have you ever noticed when you go out on a really long ride or, let's say the start of a big bike tour, everything seems great. The wind is flowing through your hair, the world seems amazing and shiny and new. But inevitably, at some point, something changes. You start looking at your computer, you start ticking down the miles in your head mentally, you do the maths, and rather than being in the moment and enjoying the ride, you're kind of just counting down until it's over. And in that instance, it becomes suddenly less fun. You're no longer open to the experience, you're just counting down the miles until you get home. Or maybe you've experienced this another way. Let's say you have a hobby, something that you love, and you gain a certain level of mastery at it. And then your friends, or maybe there's an internal voice that tells you, I should, monetize this somehow, or figure out how to make this thing I love into a side hustle, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And somewhere along the process, you stop loving it because it becomes work and it becomes this thing that you just do now. There's tons of examples like this in our daily lives. And honestly, I've been thinking about this for years, trying to figure out the framework in which to understand this process, where an activity that you were once super excited about just begins to weigh you down. I felt this probably at the most extreme personally when we were training for, it was called Dirty Cans at the time. Up until that point, I hadn't done any formal training, looked at metrics or something, just rode my bike for fun. But in that process, in that preparation, something clicked and I just, I honestly stopped having fun on the bike. A couple of years ago, I stumbled upon this philosophy book called Midlife. I actually don't recommend reading it because it's pretty dry, but did give me some useful vocabulary and framework to think about this experience. In the book, he breaks down activities into telic and atelic activities. Telic activities are those that are focused on an outcome, some kind of result. For example, you go to work because the outcome is to make money so you can live your life. Another example is that you train because the outcome is you want to perform well, you want to have a good outcome at an event or a race or something. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it does instrumentalize us and our time into something that's really outcome focused. In contrast to that, there are atelic activities. So things that you enjoy because of themselves. You don't do them because there is some desired outcome you want to achieve. A good example of this is going for a leisurely walk, where you let your mind wander and there's just something pleasant about the act of moving. Another good example is hanging out with your friends at the beach. You don't hang out with your friends at the beach, I hope, because you have some desired outcome, but because the activity is pleasurable in itself. Looking at things in this framework really has opened my eyes as to, why I like certain aspects of cycling and why I don't like certain aspects of cycling. I feel like so much of our life already is very, telic focused, outcome driven. We have to make a living. In the case of the channel, I have to make videos, I have to get views so we can have an income and we can, continue to do this. But at the same time, I also have other activities I do just for the sheer joy, like painting. There's a painting back there. At one point, I did want to try to sell the paintings, but I think for now, I just want to have fun and paint poorly and learn and just enjoy the process of painting and learning and slowly getting better. Not because I have any aspirations that the paintings will end up in a gallery or anything, just because it's fun. Another great example of this is some of you may or may not know, but I'm super into ping pong. Laura and I play almost every single day for at least like half an hour, 40 minutes. And when we play, we actually don't keep score. When we play, the point is to keep a rally going. Yes, you can do crazy shots and put some heat on it, but there's something about not keeping score where the goal of the game isn't to necessarily win or amass the most points, but it's just to keep playing. And it's because of that, none of us have burnt out on ping pong. I feel like once you start keeping score with certain things, it becomes fun, yes, but it also becomes stressful and introduces some kind of animosity sometimes. So for ping pong between Laura and I, the goal of the game is to just keep playing, to keep the ball on the table, do some crazy shots. And in the process, both of us have actually improved without keeping score, which is kind of fun to see. Bringing this all back to cycling, it's made me realize that that's why Laura and I were able to, go on a tour for so long. For those of you that don't know, back in 2009, we sold everything and traveled by bike more or less for about 2 to 3 years. And when we did that, we didn't set a solid goal, like, bike around the US, even though we did most of that, or, bike around the world. The only goal that we had set was to keep doing it until it wasn't fun anymore. And in retrospect, after reading this philosophy book and thinking about it many years later, we approached that long tour as an atelic activity, enjoying it for itself, not because we were trying to hit a particular mileage goal or set any specific record. It was to do it until it stopped being fun. And I think because of that mindset, for many years, it didn't feel like a commute. It didn't feel like a big checklist we were just working our way through, and we remained open to the experience. I guess the point of this video is if you ever find yourself in a funk with your cycling, step back a little bit and think about what may be causing it. Is it because, you're treating it as too much of a telic activity, something too outcome based? And is it possible to switch your thinking and just ride for the sake of riding like a kid does, where you're open, and if you do have a goal, it's just to see what's around the next block?